Sometimes strategy gamers just want to play a game based on the old times, the Bronze Age, the ancient times that we hear stories about, that we hear legends about in school, in universities, just from our friends, and from a lot of TV channels, right? And today I want to show you guys, in my opinion, the top 3 focusing on the Bronze Age. Now, Ozymandias here is a hidden gem, and I think this game does not get the attention it deserves. It's absolutely magnificent. It's unlike a lot of the sort of Age of Empire-ish games you've probably played, and the idea is building up your society, not necessarily the culture of your society, but the economic element, the military element, etc. Culture is represented through power in this game. And if we jump into, I'm going to go into single player, you can do the story campaign, and there are a bunch of different time periods that you can actually start in. Now, of course, in terms of Bronze Age, I mean, how much more Bronze Age do you get than like Fertile Crescent? So I recommend everybody start here. There are a few DLCs that you could purchase. I have gone ahead and done that, and you can get just whatever the hell you want, honestly. Pretty cool stuff. But again, we're focusing on Bronze Age today. So again, the Mediterranean focus is fantastic. Greek focus is fantastic. Just anything you want. But I would recommend starting in the Fertile Crescent. And you jump into this game, and it sort of presents you, especially when you do like the intro to the game, as almost like a museum sightseer that comes across a panorama of how the empires grew. You get to decide from which of these empires you want. We've got the Hittites, we've got the Canaanites, we've got the Babylonians, the Assyrians, and the Elamites. I mean, I know very little about any of these societies besides the Assyrians. If you guys know anything about the other ones, let us know in the comments. Give us a little rundown. I know the Hittites and the Babylonians have incredible, backgrounds. So we're going to take Babylon because, Mesopotamia and all that, and we get the scholarly bonus. That's another thing I didn't mention about this game is there is a science element. Of course, the science will allow you to gain more money, more land, more power. It's not so much like individual focuses as it is just an overall boost, and I think that's awesome. So we're going to start here, 20 wealth per turn, and again, I just want to kind of touch upon these games. I'd love to do like a full-on let's play of this, but I'm not going to do it right now. You start off as a emerging empire, like really tiny empire. This is the ability to grow cities. Over here, we've got the food counter. Over here, we've got the pounds, which I love, sort of the money counter. And up here, we've got the science, right? And each area you take is going to increase your ability to gain these things. And down here, we've got the power. The thing about power in this game, though, is it's not just right click, send my army over here. It's the strength and power of the empire that you build from the ground up, if that makes any sense. And that's why this game is on the list. Now, this game does have like card elements to it. I'm not going to say TCG, but it's like, certain cards are going to benefit you depending on the types of lands you take. Here, obviously, I want to take these river deltas. I want to take this fertile plain, these grainlands, these grasslands. But let's say you start over here in the desert. Let's say you're like an Egyptian or a Carthaginian player. It doesn't make a difference. You can still really benefit with the cards from these tiles. So for now, I'm going to go boom, boom, right? That's all of the food I can spend to take these tiles this turn. And the AI is going to go and take their tiles as well. And let me tell you something else that I love about this game. The AI is great, okay? Of course, here we have the cards that I was talking to you guys about. We're going to be using a lot of river deltas. So I'm going to take this rope bonus. And essentially, as we take river delta tiles, it's going to benefit us. So I'm going to go 1, 2, might take us a while, but as you can see, I'm really going for those river tiles, and you can build your civilization up around these things and really benefit from them. Again, I'm going to go for the riverboat, and then if we go to the science panel, you can benefit your civilization through science over here, and of course, give it bonuses depending on the tiles that you choose. When it comes to warfare, that's a whole nother thing, and like if you want me to do a separate video on this game alone, let me know in the comments down below and I will do it. But warfare is important. It's not so much like the amount of soldiers you build as, like I said before, the power you command will determine whether or not you conquer other cities, but you still need to buy those troops over here in the armies and fleets panel. All right, let's take a look at number 2. Alia Octa Est. For those of you that are not familiar with Philippe Thibault, he is an incredible game designer. I'm glad to call him a personal friend of mine, and he is instrumental in the creation of this game. If you played any of Agiod's games, you'll understand kind of where I'm coming from when we start this. But Aliag Dest is one of the Agiod games that focuses on ancient times. And particularly, it focuses on a lot of the Roman times, but it also focuses on things like the Great Mithridatic War, Marius Versulla, which, of course, the Battle of the Dictators, as it were, in ancient Rome. These are things that a lot of games these days just don't focus on. Now, I'm going to jump into this game and play it with you guys, but the thing is, like, this is one of those really deep games, kind of like Command Modern Air Naval Operations, where I'm not going to say that it's easy to play. That being said, once you understand the basics, once you understand the common concepts of this game, it's actually rather simple. It's actually a lot simpler than a lot of the other Agiod's games. And again, I love these kinds of games. They are as deep as you're going to get historically in terms of the way the units look, in terms of the portraits, even in terms of the casualties in the battles. Just to show you guys, and again, I am only showing you the base game. There are a bunch of DLC which add additional Bronze Age or ancient times battles, right? But we're going to stick with the Roman Civil War, Caesar versus Pompey, something that most people know about, and we are just going to see how the game plays. Now, I did take Caesar's faction, I do admit, but of course, this is, of course, the civil war that pits Caesar against Pompey for the control of the city of Rome. And this, of course, ultimately determines, will put Caesar in power, etc. Oh my goodness, sorry, I jumped off the map there. Again, this game, when it comes to Agiod's games in general, they are as detailed as you can get. So if you're somebody that enjoys like Rome Total War sort of thing, and you don't want to go any farther than that, this is not going to be for you. Now, Bocchus II is just one of our many fleets, one of our many armies. These are, of course, the different units within the army itself. And I mean, the amount of like, you know, it may seem really simple to you because this is an older game, and you guys will be like, oh, it ain't that good. But honestly, like, the artwork that goes into each of the individual units is dramatic, and it's done for every single group. Now, with Bocchus here, he's locked down, and this is something that with Agiod's games might not appeal to everybody, is that there are elements of the game, it's trying to remain as historically accurate as possible. So certain units might be totally locked down. Like right here, we've got Julius Caesar himself. We're going to cross the river, you know, of course, and begin war on Pompey's Rome. This is the units that I have. I've got a bunch of units underneath me. I've got additional generals underneath me. And in this game, and of course, just like the previous one I did, I'd have to do like a totally separate video. You can merge armies together. You can make the current army stronger. So if I hit Ravenna Praestidium, which is the current garrison army of this area, you can see there's garrison army there. Of course, we've got Caesar's force. We've also got Dolabella, one of Caesar's best friends, force over here, one of his most potent commanders. But I'm going to move into Fazolet and just go for a straight up attack. And you can see that the setup for the attack, it really gives you a lot of power and control over like how you want to approach it, whether you want to go out for a offensive posture, an assault posture, a defensive posture, or a passive posture. And this is all also going to rely on the resources you have. So up here, the engagement points, the morale, the victory points, these all determine whether you can even make this move. And that's one thing that sort of separates this game from a lot of other Bronze Age games. But this is true for all Agiod games. So I don't want to pretend that this is just Aliag Dest, but it's that element of uncertainty, okay, that in war, I think 99% of strategy games totally ignore, and that is sometimes shit just don't go the way you want it to, you know what I mean? Like, you want your unit to move here and it doesn't move there, and it is what it is, right? You got to work with it. So we're going to go ahead, we're going to proceed to the next turn. Now there's another element of resource management, control, etc., that I haven't even shown you about this game that is so deep. So you can cut off enemy resources. If an enemy army is fighting you, for instance, you could go ahead with one of your armies, cut off their resource node, and pretty much stop them from getting food, ammunition in the form of missiles, arrows, things like that. Now, we actually didn't have a battle there, interestingly enough. However, a political thing has occurred, and that is Marcus Antoninus has joined us, has joined Caesar's force. And we're going to go ahead and, like I said, you can merge units together, and we're going to merge those units. You can actually look at the buttons over here, or I should say the indicators with the tooltips that are really, really informative in this game. And if you look at that provided command and required command, you basically don't want that required command to go over the provided command. Right now, we could add a bunch more units to this army and still do damn well. But again, just like the previous game, this is one of those titles that for me to show you guys just how great it is, we'd have to do a separate video. Although I do have a bunch of Ali Acta Est videos on my channel, so make sure to type in Agrippa Maxentius Ali Acta Est. What about number 3? Let's take a look. Now, just like the first 2 games I showed you guys, this is a hidden classic. I truly believe that this is old world. And of course, just by the title itself, we're already back in those old times. But I want to jump into a new game here and show you guys what it's got to work with. You've got so many different leaders, guys, to work with. Egypt, Greece, the Hatti people, Persia. And what's cool is that very similarly to like something like Crusader Kings 2, you can actually have not just a sort of Bronze Age strategy feel to this game, but you also have a dynastic element to it. So that is to say, you have kings and queens that pass on to, you know, their heirs, etc. And as you can see, you start off as Romulus, first king of the Romans. Depending on which faction you choose, you get such a cool ancient backstory for that faction, which I absolutely love. And of course, the goal is, like, this is a pretty standard, like, 4X sort of deal, where you want to start your capital. We're going to start, of course, right there. Yes, it is a strange location for Rome. Let's go ahead. We want to get a little closer to the coast, but that's okay. I'll take this. So city site Rome, and we're gonna go ahead and it's been a long time. It's been a long time. There we go. So this right here is just one of our units. We can go ahead and found our capital, and I'm actually found it right here. And there we go. There is a tutorial that goes along with the game, which I believe is really, really helpful. I wanted to find our capital there to make sure that we got all of the resources around. But again, it's certainly a very 4X style of gameplay. And there is a research panel. So we're going to start off with divination. Go ahead and get those delicious divination points. Again, I almost want to say that this game is essentially civilization mixed with Crusader Kings. The element of Crusader Kings is basically within the familial element. You do have Prince Remus, for instance, so you have a succession, like you do in CK3, and that's just a really cool aspect to the game. Now, of course, you don't have to play with Rome. There's a bunch of different modifications which allow you to go deeper into the Bronze Age if that's something that interests you, but pretty much your standard 4X, again, with the ability to control your familial dynasty, to start in the Bronze Age, so from the very beginning, and to establish and determine kind of what the future of your clan, your people is going to be. Again, it doesn't have to be Rome. And there is, much like the first game that I showed you guys, that sort of science element of it. We also over here can see the actual laws, which are unlocked over time, sort of, you know, basically adding some interesting elements to your government system and to your cultural system. And it's a lot more direct combat than in Ozymandias. Anyway, that's going to conclude my top 3 ancient / Bronze Age, whichever you want to call it, games. I hope you guys enjoyed. And the reason I picked these games in particular is I think these guys are like really, really overlooked. A lot of people that look into this genre, they go for the Rome Total Wars, they go for the Troys, or you know, they go for Egypt, which is so separate video. And I would say these 3, it's what you need. All right, guys, if you enjoyed this video, please do help me out. Share this video with your friends, like it, subscribe to our channel. If you want to become a channel member, I do appreciate it, but really the important thing is to share the video, you know, get it out there. I want to make sure that when you spend your money, you spend it right and you don't waste it on, you know, $60 AAA titles that are just garbage. All right, guys, take care. Love you a bunch, and I'll catch you on the next one.